Hey everyone, thanks for coming back and joining me for episode 5 of Uncovered the podcast. I've had a couple of weeks off podcasting and uploading from podcasting. I've had a lot to deal with in my life. I don't know if any of you are following the UK anti-MLM Facebook page, but I've posted updates in there. But anyway, that's another story. So today's episode's about law of attraction and how that affects people positively, but also the big negative effects. I'm joined by Nikkie again. I was so happy to have her back. This is in a collaboration with her new blog, HUNderground, where we're posting both her article and this episode together. So once you've listened to this, make sure you stop by and read her article. I'll post a link to her blog in the description box. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. I've always feel like I've got to figure out this introduction thing as well. Like, welcome everyone. But, because no one's here, it's weird.
Yeah, you're going to have to practice your little pattern, get a catchphrase going.
Yeah, a little jingle.
Oh, do we know any musicians or anything like that? That's totally what we need here.
I know.
A theme tune.
No, that would have been good. I don't know any. No, I don't know any.
No,
and I don't think I should volunteer yeah, that's what I was about to say. I don't think I should volunteer my voice. That's strictly for the shower.
I'm sure you've got the voice of an angel.
Well, I think I have. So, law of attraction.
Well, I have a lot of feelings about law of attraction, Jess, that we're going to unpick today. But yeah. I remember it very briefly came up the last time we spoke together, the way that MLMs utilize the law of attraction as a kind of doctrine.
Oh yeah, it's part and parcel with the, I think you have to succeed in these companies, you have to kind of be involved in some form of law of attraction practice. I really do think that's how you succeed, and that's how the people below you want you to succeed as well, and want themselves to succeed by following these stupid mantras that they all come up with.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to demonstrate some good examples of this by the time we finish talking as well, that it's basically a tool that has some benefits that has been desperately misused in the wrong hands, and that's what I think we can begin to break down.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I said it in our last one as well, like you said. I think law of attraction in its basic form, like you said, is manifesting your reality. You saying I want this and it comes to you, because you believe in it that hard that it just comes to you. And I think it's an odd one, because in MLM it's kind of twisted. Like in some practices of law of attraction, it's good because you wake up in a more, I'm going to work hard for this, and I see everything as more positive and stuff like that. But that's not a bad way to live your life, right? It's not a bad way to be. It's not a bad thing, to be positive, but there's a limit to that, isn't there? That's what I'm trying to say. My words are all twisted up.
No, I definitely agree with you. So, I guess we should probably make a start by trying to sort of define what law of attraction is before we rip it to shreds, right?
Yeah, go on then.
So, I think you basically summed it up a minute ago, that it's this whole philosophy around manifesting the reality that you want. So I guess the optimist version of it would be believe it until you achieve it, and the cynic's version, like mine, would be fake it till you make it.
Yeah
And it's those
right.
two sides of that coin, isn't it, where basically the idea is that you think yourself into a better life, and you think positive, and you make mood boards and do positive affirmations, and you creatively visualize yourself. Like, I'm sure there's a lot more practices that I don't know about, having never, attended one of these seminars or whatever.
Yeah, don't try and sell yourself as an expert, Nikki, because you're clearly not.
I read an article one time, so I'm as qualified as half the white men on the internet to speak about anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. I've read The Secret. That's about as far as I can go with that. I have read The Secret. And I think I've seen the documentary version of the book on Netflix as well. And there are some positive elements to living your life that way. However, when it's taking over your life and dictating who you surround yourself with and who you are as a person and how you treat other people, how your work practices, that's when it's the problem.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is the thing. So we're sat here saying, and I'm sure there are people listening that have never really looked into this, that are going, well, how can you possibly have an issue with thinking positive? Like, how could you call that a bad thing? How could that be bad?
That's what I mean, yeah. But when it's people saying, and this relates to what we were talking about as well, your why. Your why for being in the business, it's got to be your why is your motivation, and then that leads into you manifesting your why. So my why is because a lot of people's would be my why, I've got kids, I've got somebody to look after, I want to retire my mum. That's saying I fucking hate.
Retire, yeah. Oh god.
Yeah, I want to retire my husband. Yeah,
retire you in a rocket to the moon if you keep using that expression. Can't be doing with it. No.
Yeah, your why is supposed to be that strong, that's what motivates you, and this is where the law of attraction comes into it. So you're manifesting very heavily that you want this and you want that, and it seems to be majority of the time material. Like, yes, with all your why is money. It's going to be money every time. Even if your why is I want to retire my husband, that's money, isn't it? Your why being at home more for the kids. You've got the money to be able to be at home more for the kids. It all revolves back around money. It's not. You can word it how you like. Time freedom.
Financial freedom,
financial
passive
income, that's what I was thinking of. It's all money related. It
Yeah.
all revolves around money. I want a nice car, I want this, I want that, and a lot of them, I think that's even in the documentary or the book version, that you're supposed to visualize your self driving this car down to the point of, like, you can look up through the sunroof and put your hands on the steering wheel and feel the steering wheel. Like, you're supposed to manifest that hard over a material object, and then that somehow makes it into your life. That's the bit I don't understand.
That makes sense, because I think while we get into this, we're going to talk a little bit about Rachel Hollis, the influencer, the queen bee influencer. But I think we can go into her a bit more later. But now you've mentioned that about the car, I remember reading her writing somewhere, maybe in her first book, that the number one thing she wanted out of her life, that she sort of channeled all her goals towards, was buying $1,000 handbag. But all of it was so she could buy this handbag. And I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm a little bit staggered by that. Maybe it's just because I've never been in an MLM, Jess, maybe, I don't know, but I've just never,
I mean, it would be nice to have $1,000 handbag, don't get me wrong, but I'm not it doesn't drive me that hard, unfortunately, as you can tell. While I'm sat in bed while I'm doing this.
I mean, girls same. We're both just chilling here, like propped up on our pillows.
Yeah.
Ultimate casual. This is the life I desire. I tell you now. If someone wants to pay us to do this, Jess, I think we could be girl bosses.
Oh yeah. #girl boss. Yeah.
Sorry, I nearly choked on my Dr. Pepper when you said that.
Oh, don't do that. That'd have been awkward.
That's not a very positive manifestation, is it?
No,
choking while we record.
No.
So neggy.
So neggy. But yeah,
Juice plus girls, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I'm still really bitter about that, can you tell?
Yeah, the girl who called you neggy.
Neggy B. Anyway, I'm sorry. My bitterness got in the way for a minute there. Please go ahead.
Yeah, she's like a I think she's the example of a walk-in manifestation, and I think that's how she's like portrayed in all these MLM companies as well. You know, she does all those. Well, she's done. I think she's done them all now, and I don't think she can do any more MLM speaking after her latest book
Well,
appearance.
yeah, this is the thing with Rachel Hollis. She made all her very substantial financial investments, and well, she built it all doing motivational speaking on the MLM conference circuit.
Yeah.
And then, was it last year that she published her most recent book?
Yeah, I feel like it blew up right end of last year. So yeah, that'd have been right.
I went and looked at it actually, like knowing we were gonna, be talking about this topic. I went and had a skim through her books, and she actually explicitly calls people that pay money to buy a kit or start up a business dumb. That's the word she uses, dumb. And I'm like, sis, you've made all your money off the back of talking to these people and telling them to buy the kit and buy more product and move more, get more in your downline. And now you're telling them they're stupid. Oh boy.
I know. It's a cheek actually, and I feel like I'd be pretty mad if I was invested in her as much as these people are. But they literally, she is a walking manifestation of life, and this is how you're supposed to live your life and everything else. I think they look up to her, like, she's made it from. I don't think she's had the most humble of beginnings, if that's the word to use. Like, I don't think she's come from so low down in the poverty line. It's crazy. Her husband worked for Disney before she became her motivational speaker self and retired her husband.
I gather, like I said, I like skimmed some bits of her books to get a bit more of an idea about what she was saying and who she was, sort of a thing. And she grew up in a very religiously conservative family with like relative wealth, it sounds like. I mean, it sounds like she had some trauma. Like, I think her big brother took his own life, which is very sad.
Very sad.
But yeah, there's no indication of financial or economic struggles from that past. And like you said, her husband has a very well-paying job, and that sort of a thing.
Well, ex-husband, in the sense
that, oh yeah, well, that's right, she wrote a whole book about how great their marriage was, and then they split up. That was awkward. But I think the thing with Rachel Hollis is actually, I guess we can unpick her a little bit more, but she's a great example of like what this law of attraction ideology appeared to be marketing. And she's the sort of person they're really pushing as like, this is what you could be, this is what you could achieve. And in the last year or so, we've kind of seen that come tumbling down for her to a point where it's really quite sad, even though I think like her very much or what she stands for.
It's quite shocking actually. It just seems to be one thing after another with her. Like, it was the whole misquoting people in a book, passing quotes off as her own, and then obviously the stuff, people are very invested in her and her husband's relationship, and I think paid a lot of money to go to their public events about
it was thousands
marriage
for a ticket.
and all this like boot campy type stuff to then divorce him, and I'm not one to judge people's relationships, because we all have different ones, don't we? But I think that there's been some quotes and interviews that things didn't sound like a bit of a strange dynamic as it was anyway. It was a bit, by the sounds of it, he was pulling the strings of her career, and I mean, she probably got a lot of where she is due to the people he knows and things like that. Like, he had a very big job at Disney, from what I know, before she kind of took on this role.
I think they are the epitome of a particular kind of like religiously conservative Americans with those old school values and this sort of conception of women being in a particular lane. But it's the 21st century version where you've started to get this like white girl boss, suburban mother stereotype who is, the popular conception of MLM. And Rachel Hollis is like the human embodiment of all of that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I would suggest anybody anybody listening, go and look at her Instagram page. She is you would think she's at the top of the chain. Pyramid, not chain. I'm changing the structure. Top of the pyramid, you would. from, you know, how she presents herself. And I think that's what people in these MLMs aspire to be. And a lot of their recruitment tactic relies heavily on the lifestyle, right? People in MLMs.
So,
and that's where law of attraction comes into it. You're putting yourself out there as this walking embodiment of freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, amazing life. And that's what they're portraying that they're getting back.
Definitely.
You know, from their law of attraction. You put it out there and that's what you're getting back. That's the idea of law of attraction.
So yeah, exactly. This is the thing with her, and this is kind of why I guess we're talking about her in essence, is that this lady has made a career out of being the perfect demographic for MLMs and sort of pulled herself up among their ranks as being an aspirational leader to people who are in that demographic. But also because she has built an entire self-help philosophy, and this is where her books and her speaking comes in. From her idea, literally this is on the first page of her first book, and she said, like, this is my whole philosophy. Only you are in charge of what happens to you. You need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and make the best of your life. So I guess on the surface, a lot of people again would look at that and go, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
You know, and there is definitely some truth in the fact that you have control over your life in many, many ways. There are lots of things that are totally driven by your own choices and your own actions and all of that. And you can definitely make more changes than we sometimes give ourselves credit for as individuals, you know, like there are things we could do. We could quit that job we hate. We could like book the holiday and not worry too much about what people will think. We could do all sorts of stuff every day to make ourselves happier than we do. But the trouble is, and this is where I get really, really, really fed up with the law of attraction stuff, and why, like, when you mentioned it last time, I think the noise that came out of my mouth was something like
I think you just you said something like, I just vomited in my mouth or something.
Oh God. I'm sorry. So this is the thing. That is great, assuming there is nothing else bigger, more systemic and out of your control that is a barrier to you.
Yeah.
Someone like Rachel Hollis has never had to consider, you know, more systemic oppression. She's never had to worry, you know, as far as I know, she is white, she is relatively able-bodied, she is an American citizen who have a lot of power in the world. You know, I know there's a bit of like gender role stuff going on within her circle because of their, you know, sort of religious circumstances and beliefs, but even within that, she's, you know, had a career and been very independent and launched a business empire. That those options are not available to everyone.
No,
and
you're dead right.
I have a big problem with philosophies like this taking no account of the different barriers that are in place for different people and making no attempt to address them.
And that's where I think people seeming to be failing in MLMs because of these,
in air quotes.
Failing in air quotes, you're right, but you know, not succeeding like others, because you're right, because the cards aren't always stacked against everybody, you know. All of those factors, plus just the odds of the game, you know, like the odds aren't always there for everybody. You know, if you're one of the first in the business, you're going to do a lot better than somebody who's joining like 4 years down the line after the first person, you know, like those type of odds also, you're not going to get anywhere.
This is it. There's just so many factors just that can get in the way of this. And it's, you know, I think we know that MLM companies, the bottom layer is almost exclusively women.
Yeah.
A lot of, you know, white suburban mothers pop up in there, but there are some other subcategories as well. But we do know it tends to be touted as an opportunity for the people who are most in need of income.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I posted something on my Instagram the other day, because I have an Instagram now that goes alongside my blog, little self plug.
You do. They'll all be plugged at the end.
Thank you. But I've tried to break it down a little bit, like the MLM could be a feminist issue, for example,
100%.
because there are elements of women, like stay-at-home parents. 76%, I think it was, of stay-at-home parents are female. So you target that demographic for people who might be lonely, desperate for a little bit of, you know, connection and human contact, as well as wanting more money. Because I've never had a kid, but I know from friends' experiences that statutory maternity pay is peanuts.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the luxury of a rich executive for a husband, then every penny tends to count when you've suddenly down in income.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it goes down in stages, doesn't it? Like, depending how many months in you are into your maternity. I think it changes. So. I think it's full pay for like 3, and
you're right. Yeah,
that's the perfect time to target people, and not also the perfect time to target them to tell them they need to lose the baby fat. That's another. That's another situation completely.
Oh, if people could see my face right now, ooh, the rage.
Yeah,
but that's
I keep seeing one
fish.
Actually, and a lot of people are print screening them and putting them in the anti-MLM groups we're in. About there's a new product, whether it's one of these MLMs that's already in existence, about like the equivalent of a gastric band. Like they're wanting people to. Have you seen that?
Yeah, we've seen it. Me and the other admins were desperately trying to unpick this the other day. Like, of the Facebook group, a few people have posted it in the group that we run, and we were just like, "What the hell? Which one is this?"
Yeah,
I think we finally got an answer that it's from FM. Which, I'm sure,
people
like most
are now doing gastric bands.
Most people who are listening know that FM is the perfume MLM. That's what it's known for, the dupe perfumes. Yeah, it seems as though that gastric band thing is coming from MLM reps from FM.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to get some more info on that, because that was a bit worrying.
Yeah.
The only way to have a gastric band effect is to get a gastric band, and I have known someone who's had one, and believe me, that is a rough ride.
Yeah, I don't think it's all it's cracked up to be, is it?
No.
At all. I don't think having gastric bands are good.
They have benefits for people, but the person I know, they benefited from it a lot, in the sense that it was something they needed, but it's very much more challenging and limiting lifelong than a lot of people realise.
Yeah, they think it's just a get slim quick thing, when really you're not going to eat properly ever again.
That's it. It changes your whole relationship with food forever, and there is no going back. Otherwise, you risk sort of serious sickness and injury. So, yeah. Anyway, that was a side rant. The fat loss. It was a bit, but it's fine.
So I was thinking,
fat loss stuff is awful.
Obviously, because you've not had the pleasure of joining an MLM,
right?
So I was thinking, what we could do is talk about So let me get the email up. The lady who was on the last episode, Sophie. Shout out to Sophie. She
was brilliant.
Amazing, wasn't she?
Oh yeah.
She did so well.
You, Sophie.
Yeah, same.
Like, hearing it made me tear up a little bit, to be honest.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
I know I'm a bit of a wet wipe for getting so emotional all the time, but it made me cry, Sophie. So
yeah, she was amazing. Very brave. I know she was quite nervous about doing it as well. So thank you for coming on. She sent me, so she was in IntelliTravel. She sent me some of the documents that they send out to their I was going to say patients.
Victims.
Patients.
Victims. Yeah. Patients. Oh, that is an ethical dilemma and a half there, girl.
To their recruits.
Yeah.
And one of them is a goal setting worksheet. So this is something that they make you, you have to constantly be setting goals and reviewing your goals, and once you've achieved your goals, you got to post about it too once you do it, or get a bit closer, obviously, but
naturally,
that is part of and I think it ties in with the whole law of attraction thing, because it's a goal to your end goal, what you desire and what you're putting out into the universe, and this is how they break down step by step how you can achieve that lifestyle. You have a 3-month goal, or a 6-month goal, or a 5-year goal or whatever.
Yeah.
Whichever
whatever metric they're using.
Yeah, I was going to say like self-diagnosed motivational queen comes up with these in these MLMs, because they're all different. They all type their own up on Word and then distribute them, don't they?
I'm sure, yeah, all different. It's all about that branding, isn't it? And trying to make out each company is unique and the first one to come up with this stuff.
Yeah.
But I wonder, do you think it occurs to anyone when they're writing it? Because this is the thing, right? I understand that goal setting is a part of how law of attraction operates.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't, I think if I was in that situation, I was writing them up, I'd be like, well, hang on, like this isn't my thinking. This is stuff I'm doing. Like I'm meeting these goals because I'm doing stuff.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe it depends what the goals
and I mean,
are. Like
you get in a normal job, a corporate job, a normal job, you get, your PDRs, what they're called, your reviews.
They're different in all companies, aren't they? They have all different ones. But yeah, you get yearly reviews and goals and individual
goals
targets
for the next
and all
year.
that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I want to achieve them personally in life.
Yeah.
I want to achieve them for a pay rise.
Yeah. But even if you're passionate about your job, and I just think there's really caring when you're in the meeting with your boss, and then there's making 50 posts about it on Facebook because your upline told you to.
Yeah, and I think that's what they tell you, that an element of putting it out to the universe is putting that out on your social media. You're putting it out there that you're doing this or you're doing that or you've achieved this, when actually no, that's a recruitment tactic.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you to post about all of this
like
stuff.
Yeah. If that's how it worked, my only social media would just be me like posting my Amazon wish list over and over and over. Like some sort of cosmic Santa is going to bring me everything I want.
Takeaway
menus.
I'll
have a KitchenAid. They're really expensive. Like it in turquoise.
I feel like I'd have one of those, but I'd never use it. I just want it there.
Yeah, probably
on display.
same, but if Universe Cosmic Santa is listening, then I might as well shoot high.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can think of a lot of things that are higher, to be fair, so that's not bad.
That's true. That is quite
you could achieve that as a Christmas present.
That is emblematic of how boring my life is, Jess. I'm not gonna lie to you. KitchenAid was the wildest thing I could think of. I've got
mentally on a mental level into gardening very quickly. It's come from nowhere, but I'm obsessed. Yeah, that's the whole other story.
So I love that though.
Oh yeah, I find it so relaxing. It's my new
fits
thing.
In with the growth #growth. Think of the posts you could make out of that.
Oh yeah, I'm all over
like
that.
The leaves that are shooting out the ground. I'm turning over a new leaf all the time. Like
I didn't even think of that, man.
Or think of the possibilities.
I didn't even think of any of that. So this sheet's called...
This is why you haven't got a KitchenAid. That's all I was going to say. This is why Cosmic Universe Santa hasn't bought you your KitchenAid yet.
So this sheet is just called goal setting sheet. It says below are some questions for you to answer. It's important to identify what you truly want from this opportunity. What do you want? Money. That's I was going to say, want. Please
a living wage would be a start.
Yeah, definitely. Please answer the below questions and contact your director upline with your answers if you would like to, so they can help support you and make your goals a reality. No. So the reason they want you to share your goal information with your director upline is so they can consistently and constantly and periodically and all the other lies keep you motivated. Air quotes again, motivated. And that's because if they feel like you're dwindling off course to staying in the MLM, that's where that they need you. If they think you're seeing a different side, but remember, you're wanting to do that, aren't you? You're so close. How are you going to do that? If you quit now, look how far you've come. It's a tactic every time.
So they're really collecting like personal data in the form of your goals and desires to use as a carrot to dangle in front of you. Is that what you're saying? That is pretty shady.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%. That's why they want you to.
Oh my God, that's
report
so
back.
Manipulative.
I know. And
that's
I was watching. So I was watching, trying to find some funny bits and bobs to come up with. Like, I want to do another episode where we react to things, because then we don't have the issue of showing people's faces, just their voices on podcasts. But that's a whole other thing. But anyway, I was watching. There is a channel that's floating about. Is it Pyramid Hunter or something like that? The YouTube channel.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah. So one of the quite high ups, I think she's in Teletravel, Marcel.
Yeah, I saw this too. Is this the group call that got released?
Yeah. And she says in one of those clips, they're getting all the questions through on Zoom, like from everybody. And bearing in mind, they had like 800 people on the call as well. Had a lot of people on the call. And she was answering a question about the motivation. How do you stay motivated? Somebody asked her. So how do you stay motivated? Clearly, because you're like, I think everybody in the UK probably comes under this woman. Like, she has a big downline. And she said something along the lines of, I can't even remember how she worded it. She was like, your why should be your motivation. Your why should make you cry.
Yikes.
That's freaky. If your why
I bet she's fun at parties.
Oh, I know. She was like, if your why doesn't make you cry, you need to get in contact with your director upline and work together to figure out what your motivation is and your why, so you can get realigned.
Yikes. So
something along those lines, getting realigned.
Yeah, if your basic need for money isn't, like, they've not deemed that a good enough reason to have a job, so unless you've got a much more emotive sob story that's going to guilt people into continuing to prop up the air quotes business that's 99% likely to fail because that's how it's built.
Yeah exactly. But your why,
I wish they said that on the tin.
Make our job so much
really
easier.
sad.
It's not even a job because I do this for free. It's like I'm putting my time into. I might as well put my time into a pyramid scheme. I'm doing this for free.
That's true. We are earning just as much, if not less. I guess at least we're having fun.
Yeah, this is very true.
But I do think people forget sometimes. This is the thing, that like people in the anti-MLM community don't make money off of doing this, for the vast majority of them. Like, I think there's a handful of YouTubers and stuff who do make a little bit of money off ad content, but even then it's so far away from being,
because unfortunately it's a very
job.
niche area, isn't it? Still,
like Miss Sponley, who's one of our premier UK YouTubers on it, she said in a live earlier that she thinks she earned about £40 or something from AdSense last month. So it's hardly the big bucks that would motivate somebody to carry on a crusade for financial reasons.
No, we just must be genuinely negative people.
I know. Nikkie being proud, Jess. Nikkie being proud.
I'm gonna get that on a t-shirt for you, I think.
I'm going to get a tattoo. I think I'm going to have to, soon as they're open again.
So the questions on this sheet, what income do you desire? Why do you want that income? What do you mean why? Because I want money.
Yeah,
everybody
do you know
wants
how currency
money.
works?
Yeah.
Because bartering camels went out of style quite a while ago. Like, what do you think I want money? Like, come on now.
Of course I want money. And they portray that money isn't the be all and end all, and it's the lifestyle you want, but the lifestyle is controlled by the money supply. Right? Like those IntelliTravel reps who go on 18-month-long holidays while they work in the biz because they just travel here, there and everywhere. Who's paying for that?
Yeah, exactly. They're not getting around the world just on goodwill and monopoly money, are they?
No. The next one is, what's driving you? So the same thing as the questions above, really, just worded completely differently. What income do you desire? Why do you want that income? What's driving you? Because I want that income. Because that's the income I desire.
This is that sounds like another way, though, like you said, to like twist it towards that emotive thing. So rather than what it is that you want out of this job, it's I want to provide for my family, I want to give my kids a better life. I want to pay off my debt and change my own life. Do you know what I mean? Like that's definitely what they're pushing for here.
The next one is, how much time are you willing to invest to your business a week? Also, we're getting there now. So, you know, we're getting to the point of it is, yeah, you can have all of that above, that's fine. What's driving you and the income you desire, but how much work are you going to put in? That's what your director upline wants to know. Because if you're going to say, I'm going to put 40 hours a week in, they will get a very different response from their upline to the person who say, well, I can only probably spare 2 hours a week.
Yeah. This is another thing. This is part of, and I would say that it boils down to this being the thing that I'm most upset about, with law of attraction being such a prominent part of MLM, yes, but also it's sort of infected its way into influencer culture, and sort of you see it all the time on positivity blogs and people's cover photos on Facebook. And the thing that bothers me the most about it is this notion that everything is overcomable with work. And that's not the case. That's not how
it's not the case. And especially in this line of work, if you want to call it work, because like I was saying earlier, it depends how the odds are stacked. You know, if you approach 5 people and somebody who you work with on this also approaches 5 people, you are all approaching 10 very different people. You know, and that's just luck of the draw on how you go down your explore page on Instagram and just randomly select someone, or search a hashtag in travel or perfume or something and randomly select someone. You know, that's totally. Like, that's where like the whole lottery of it comes into it. Those 10 people will react very differently, and another 10 people will react very differently. So you're not always going to have that fair shot. You know, exactly. if one person manages, I won't say infiltrate, but manages to infiltrate one group of people who all think the same, who all have the same hobbies, you know, who all have the same, I don't know, like why they target like young mum groups or single mum support groups, things like that. You're probably going to get a very different response to picking 10 randomers up off online. And that's where the odds are stacked against you. It's like who's more, I don't know, who's smarter in the recruiting, you know, how deep are you and how far are you willing to go with it on your targeting? Totally. How good is your targeting skill? That really affects who you're gonna get.
And this is it, isn't it? Like, don't get me wrong. There is no universe in which you can say that hard work doesn't get you somewhere. It does, you know, and working hard will open doors, will get you opportunities. And in lots of cases, hard work will get you to where you deserve to be. But there are, in many examples in life, other factors that might get in the way. And when it comes to MLM, the factor that might get in your way is the basic business structure and mathematical certainty, because that is the way the numbers work. If you aren't one of the very, very early ones through the gate, then you just do not have a mathematical chance of getting to the top of that pyramid, because the numbers just do not work that way. It cannot work in reverse in that way. The money is always designed to flow up and up and up.
And I'd say the top of, or maybe the 2 to 3 rows below, maybe you've got a good shot of earning a bit. You're never gonna you're never gonna get to where the top one is, obviously, because the more you're trying, the more you're earning for them. And I think other factors come into play, especially if you're doing all your recruiting online, which is the more modern way of doing it. You know, back in the day, people would recruit their friends, and they'd recruit their friends and family, and they'd recruit their friends and family, and it was a very incestuous thing. Whereas you can now have a team all around the world.
Yeah. So, well, I think there's lots of recruiting happens now with people that have never met in real life.
Oh yeah, I never met anyone in real life. I met the woman who, my upline in real life. That's the only one, and because that was only because she lived about an hour away, and I was lucky that worked out that way. But everybody else, they were in different countries, all sorts. But the recruiting online, you know, that everything needs to play in your favor. Your following amount, my old Instagram account, I used to have, God, I don't even know how many followers. Maybe like 600 or 700 followers, and I'd get them sometimes, not all the time, but I'd get them sometimes, like, you know, the requests like, "Hey hun." But my new, so I got rid of that Instagram account. Basically, actually, this is a weird story as well, and I went a bit conspiracy theory on this, and this is why I got rid of my Instagram account. But basically, I tried to go down my feed back to when I was trying to sell the new skin products, deleting the photos. Like, I don't want them on my Instagram anymore.
Understandable.
And they would just stay in black squares on my news feed.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, they wouldn't disappear. They just stay. And there was other pictures I deleted as well that were like, you know, when I was trying to be aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, trying to get the grid.
Yeah, I don't need a picture of that beach or whatever. They would delete fine, but anything where I was talking about products wouldn't. They'd stay blank black tiles, and it freaked me out. So I deleted my account because I was like, that was weird. But then I got over it.
Weird.
So weird.
No,
I'd love to know if
totally
that's
weird,
happened to anybody else. But
I would love to know, because a friend of mine had an account. She used to be like quite a big gamer on Twitch.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with MLM, but she had an account with about 30,000 followers, and as far as I know, she managed to archive every post on that without issue.
Wow.
So if it's, you know, to do with follow account, anything like that.
Yeah, and I mean that's not a lot of followers, is it? Well, anything where the products were, couldn't get rid of them.
So I wonder what mechanism, you know, was in place for that. That is odd. Oh, I hope you find out more about that.
I know. Weird.
But
anyway, my new Instagram account that I started probably a year and a bit ago, I've only got like 300. Oh, I thought it fell over.
Sorry, I dropped my phone.
Whoa.
No, it's the phone. I dropped my phone. Sorry about me.
It's all right.
Carry on.
Yeah, my new account's probably, I can tell you how many followers I've got. Not as many. I never get any messages. None.
Well, that's good.
313 followers. Everybody go follow me on Instagram. No, I'm joking. 313 followers, and I never get anybody ask me ever. Yeah. So you're telling me
strange
how they sell it to you, where they're like, you know, you're following, you don't need to have a big following to succeed in this business. Well, I don't even get recruited with my small following. So it's all bull, really.
This is it. And the trouble is, like, in a situation like we have now with most MLMs, where a lot of them are consisting of ones that have been going for a period of years, that are basically, I think it's fair to say that a big portion of them are going through the stage where the hype is declining. You know, I'm thinking of ones like Unique and Forever Living and Juice Plus, and, you know, the ones that have been around for years and years and that have had quite a bit of scandal and that are out dipping. I think those ones are desperately trying to use social media and, you know, pump up people with big followings and influencers to avoid the death knell, basically.
And the rise in celebrities getting involved in MLMs.
Well, this is the trouble, isn't it? You're seeing it a lot, like quite a few. I mean, I haven't watched Towie since Amy Childs was in it, but
she's back in it now.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's back in it.
But I am reliably informed that people who have been on Towie have been shilling all sorts, like from Juice Plus all the way up to, you know, and I know that some of the Geordie Shore lot are doing bloody IntelliTravel and
is it Vicky Patterson or something, isn't she? She's
Vicky,
doing it.
Yeah. I think Mario Thingamajig from Towie's doing Travel One as well.
Oh, is he?
I think, don't quote me on it, but I think I read something about him too. And it's a very clear attempt that it's nothing to do with the inherent skills of those people. It's nothing to do with their background. It's nothing to do with who they are. It's to do with the fact that they have enough of a following, have built up enough followers and people that listen to what they say, but don't have enough, trying to think of a polite way to put this, but like selectivity in the brands that they work with, like an A-lister. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not.
Yeah. Saying
Someone
that
like Reese
though,
Witherspoon can be a bit more picky. Someone like Vicky
Hashtag Monet.
Pattinson. Hashtag Monet. I'm still upset that Piper from Charmed sells for Monet.
I've never
It
watched
ruined my
Charmed.
life.
I've never
Oh,
watched
I'm
that.
sure if anybody else here listening like loved Charmed in the 90s as much as I do, then just tell me if your heart dropped the bottom of your stomach when you realised that, because mine totally did.
It did actually shock me to see that. Was it Ronaldo who had a Herbalife sponsorship?
Yes, I did not know about this until
I
really
didn't
recently.
either. No, same.
I
And that
was
shocked me.
absolutely scandalised. God, he's a sports person. He should know better.
Imagine the pay. I mean, to get him to do something like Herbalife, imagine what they paid. Because all of them...
someone who's like, I was going to say, he's popularly regarded as one of the best football players in the world, like the world over.
Like
if you want
you know how much he's on just from football. So for him to embarrass himself doing Herbalife, that must have been for a pretty pay.
Must have been. What he earns in a day, most people don't earn in 5 years. You know,
or their life.
All their life, yeah. God, I don't even know. I haven't looked at the numbers, but
what I was going to say about this this goal setting sheet, the last question on here, and this is where it goes from getting you indoctrinated with the law of attraction stuff to moving into cult territory, is are you willing to be coachable and follow the systems in place? Is the last question.
Jeez, that rings alarm bells straight away.
That is weird, isn't it?
That's so weird. What does it mean, coachable?
Are you coachable? So are you willing to do as you're told, basically?
Yeah, but what I hear is, are you gullible? Are you someone we can manipulate? And are you willing to take on the doctrine without questioning it? This is what annoys me, you see. It completely breeds out healthy questioning and critique. Like in my normal job, if something is being introduced that I'm not sure about, like, I don't know, everyone does different jobs, but I'm sure that there are different processes and things that come up all the time. I can just be like, oh, have we thought about what happens when this situation occurs though? Or what about this? Or could we do it that way? And you just don't seem to be allowed to do that at all in MLM. Like, if you question anything, that to me sets a precedent that don't ask questions, don't contradict, just listen and go with it regardless of what your thought process is.
And if if you're not winning at it, you're clearly not manifesting it to happen. That's basically you not succeeding. Us talking about all the odds against people, all of that is completely overwritten by but you just don't want it enough. That's what it is.
This is
you
it.
Clearly don't want it enough.
It is every single factor that contributes to the 99% of people who don't manage to reach the top of the tree and earn so much as a living wage off MLM. All of that is boiled down when you come to law of attraction into them just saying you didn't work hard enough, you didn't want it, and that is the retort for everything. And that is why I think the way it is applied, certainly in MLM culture, is toxic. Like, I'd go as far as to say it is toxic.
Oh, completely toxic. And I think it's unfair to expect people to be 100%, 400% motivated all the time at anything.
Of course, how do humans operate?
Yeah, you're not gonna, and that's what they're trying to train you to be. That's what they're trying to force you to be to succeed. Why would you to maintain that lifestyle is really hard. Like people who are training for the Olympics, they're not going to be motivated all the time. They're going to say, no, for God's sake, I just want to lie in. I just want to go to Mackey's. I just want to do something other than get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not normal to be that motivated all the time. You're not going to be motivated all the time, and nobody's why should be that strong that you need to be. Oh, this is what I've got up actually. I've got this ready on my phone to play. This is very funny.
Oh God.
I hope you hear it. So somebody sent me this and I've had it saved for a while. Somebody who's very high up in Forever Living. This is
I really, really hate that one.
Talking about how they start their morning every day.
Right, I'm ready to die inside.
It's very funny, honestly. Hang on. I hope you can hear it through the microphone.
Every single day without fail, I always start by getting up and doing my mindset training. I put my headphones in and I listen to my mindset blueprints. I get straight up then, I'll go straight into my office. That's where I'll listen to any YouTube clips normally of things that give me more knowledge, more inspiration and motivation. Just make me enthusiastic about my day.
Have a coffee.
Is that not the
Jesus,
weirdest thing? Is that not the weirdest thing?
That's not what normal people do. No,
Before you even get out of bed in the morning, if you have to put your headphones in and listen to people's motivational speeches, whether that be Martin Luther King to Rachel Hollis, to get yourself out of bed in the morning, that's not normal.
That doesn't show
to get
that
you in
you're
the
content.
mindset.
Yeah, that doesn't show a life that you're content with to me. If you have to try that hard all the time to get this positive mindset, if you have to be listening to speeches and posting quotes and making a mood board and thinking so hard about your positivity and what you want, then how do you have any time to feel it authentically and just be content?
Oh yeah, the mood board's a massive deal as well. You have to have
I've seen a few kicking about, and they tend to a lot of the ones I've seen across it tend to be like, do they make you do this out of interest? Because the ones I see tend to all be in like the company's colours, whatever that may be, and they've always got a car on there that is clearly meant to represent the car bonus.
Yeah, to represent happy life, like how can you represent that through material things? You know, you can't in a picture draw a happy life. What are you going to draw?
Yeah.
You're going to draw some element of money spending somewhere, whether it's you lying on a beach. You know, that's what you have to pay for to get,
That's true.
It's always going to be a materialistic element to it. But the training calls I sat on and stuff like that, it was like anything you earn, invest it in a bag. Or this was back when Gucci belts came out. Well, not when they came out, but because they've always been out, I think. But when they became very popular, this was like it was Gucci belt mad, and all of the uplines had them.
Yeah, it's that status symbol thing, isn't it? When they're the big status symbol, I remember.
Yeah, and you're encouraged to do things like buy a Gucci belt, and then you can not only post pictures in it for people to be like, oh my god, wow, she's got a Gucci belt, but then to be like put on your Instagram or your Facebook or your Instagram stories like, God, my bonus this month, this is what I got paid this month or this week. I got paid this in a week from my side hustle, and I was able to buy this £200-300 belt from my side hustle. It's all a ploy to just get you selling some fake lifestyle. Every element of it.
This is another thing, isn't it, that you've like hit on with this, that it's this element of like posting lifestyle aspirational stuff to your social media. Because ultimately with an MLM, like as we broke down quite nicely when we did our last episode together about pyramids, effectively the product in MLM is just like a side thing. They're not really the front and center of it. It's all about you're trying to sell the air quotes opportunity and the lifestyle and what it can bring. And so all the stuff about the material things that it can bring you and the inspirational pastel quotes about happiness and blessed, grateful, all of that stuff is so carefully cultivated because they believe they're being told that this is what's going to bring them success, even if that isn't the actual reality of their lives in that moment. I have lost count of the number of people who were once in MLMs and have come out who have like shared a time hop picture of them back then. And said, they've posted it with the caption, and the caption that they posted at the time has always been along the lines of, I'm living my best life, I'm bossing it, I'm killing it at my side hustle, never been happier, join my team. And then when these people at a few years distance step back and reflect on it, they will often say this is me a couple of years ago. I was putting a front onto the world and saying I was so happy, but actually I was miserable.
Yeah.
And there's all these things going on in their lives that they didn't feel able to share back then because they were sort of boxed into a corner that they couldn't share any of their authentic selves. It didn't match with the vision that the company wanted them to put across.
Yeah, that's like the main aspect of it. It's and I don't know if you know that. Hang on, I have a dog here now. Get up on the bed.
Oh, hi, doggo.
Get up on the bed. Get up on the bed. No, he's just staring at me like, stop telling me what to do. Anyway.
You'll get up when you're in the middle of a sentence, I imagine, and knock the
probably.
wind at you. That's what my cat does.
God, he's 50 kilos. He better not fly off the other side of the bed. I don't know if you know this about law of attraction, but a massive part of it is gratitude. You've got to, and really, really drilling into yourself every day what you're grateful for. There is.
Yes, I've seen this a lot.
You've got to, when you get up in the morning, you've got to list 5 things you're grateful for. Before you go to bed at night, you've got to write down 4 things you're grateful for. Can you hear him chewing that bone?
I can, yeah, but it's fine. It's
really
quiet. I wouldn't.
Annoying.
I probably wouldn't have really noticed it if you hadn't said.
He's
just living his best life, blessed. Goals. Probably
blessed.
bought the bone off his side hustle.
Yeah, he needs to put this bone on his gratitude list this evening.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've got to constantly drill into yourself what you're happy about, even if it's, I'm happy I got a coffee today. I'm happy I did this. I'm happy I watched this on TV. I'm happy, anything. You've got to constantly be grateful for something.
It's like anything, and like we talked about before, positivity is a great thing in and of itself. Gratitude, a great thing in and of itself. But like anything in excess, it's going to become a problem. Like if all you do is think all the time and desperately scrape up examples of how grateful you are for what you've got, then that is to the detriment of thinking about what you actually want to be and what your goals are and who you are and what maybe you're not as happy with and you want to work on. Because that is another thing. It's if you want to grow as a person and become better, you do have to sometimes think like negatively in air quotes, because otherwise how do you deal with your problems? Like to me, a lot of it just encourages rug sweeping, where you just hide away from anything difficult or sad or complicated and you don't deal with it head on.
Yeah, and unfortunately you have things that are negative happen in your life, isn't it? Whether it's family problems or relationship problems, but you're not allowed to express that because that's negative. I don't want your negative energy in my life. And this is where it comes back to indoctrinating you in a cult form, because driving you away from people who are telling you different.
Yeah.
So
this is it, yeah.
Your family members or friends who are concerned, I just don't think you should be doing this or anything.
Yeah.
That your upline will say, you don't need that in your life. You don't need that negativity. Like distance yourself from them.
That's it. There's no room for real feelings and emotion, whether that is being upset, being angry. Like, I said about these posts where I've seen ex-reps reflecting, and some of them were like hiding really big things from the world, like things like bereavement or job loss or diagnosis of a serious illness. And they felt they couldn't even share that with people who were quite close to them, because that would put this negative energy into the world. Like it didn't matter that it was happening to them, whether they liked it or not. And that system of belief they'd been taught, like say this is just an example of one of those sorts of posts that I've seen in the past. Someone was hiding that they had a cancer diagnosis because they didn't think it was positive, it was cheerful, and it wouldn't go very well with their they were doing one of the wellness ones, so they didn't think that it would be a very good testimonial for the product, so they hid all that. And they were there thinking, well, that everything I've been taught, everything that comes into my life, comes from me and my thoughts and my actions. So there's a person there who's sort of victim blaming themselves for getting cancer, because they have been taught everything that I get in this world is a result of what I've put into it.
Yeah.
There is a really, really insidious dark side to this law of attraction, and
That's so sad
I
as
guess
well when you think about it like that.
so sad. People call it a philosophy, but it has also been listed as a pseudoscience by quite a lot of like big accredited organizations, and which one you call it depends on the way that you use it. If it's something you just try and think about in your day-to-day life and try and be a bit more positive and a bit less moany, you're probably okay. If you apply it as a totally rigid factual thing in every aspect of your life, and you don't leave any room to deal with the things in life that are painful and difficult and inconvenient and not very good to sell your products with,
and it's
going to hurt you.
And especially that some of the goals that they have you set in, that it's just magically going to appear with this opportunity. Like, I'd love a Range Rover. So if I manifest the hell out of me, I could picture me driving with a Range Rover now. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
However, if I can't have one at my current, can't afford to run one, let alone buy one. Can't afford to replace a tyre on one, never mind even buy it in the first place. How's that going to change from me just sitting in bed at night saying, I really want a Range Rover?
Yeah, well, I wish I had this.
That's not going to change my circumstance. They're not just going to come and drop one off at my house.
Exactly.
I'd still have to do something to get there. And that's where they put these goal-setting ideas into your head, because they make you think of something that you really want. They then tell you, what are you going to do to get it? This is how you're going to do it to get it. Follow my exact process on how to get this. And then at the end, like that question on that sheet, but are you willing to be told what to do to get it? Because I can show you the way, but you need to stick with me. It's not going to happen overnight.
Definitely. And they don't teach you how to achieve the goal and make it sustainable, because this is the other thing. Like, the car is a great example, right? I could take out a loan tomorrow. Almost 30, decent credit. I could take out a loan probably for a good old down payment on something like a car and get the rest on finance, whatever. But that wouldn't change whether or not I was able to afford it month to month, whether I could deal with it if it blew up tomorrow and I needed to deal with that, like if all the tires fell off, I could get a big deposit down on a house the same way somehow, but it wouldn't mean that I'd be able to realistically afford to run it and keep on going and stuff. Like,
and are you telling me you're going to be happier? No.
Exactly. The stress of trying to keep up with that lifestyle, because the thing is, it makes a great post the first time you get your car and you can say, hey, I manifested this car, this is what I wanted and I worked towards it in my business. But you're not going to be able to keep getting the juice out of it. All you've got is that car that now every minute you've got it, the value is depreciating, the more it becomes a liability and like a talisman for everything that didn't work out.
I saw that picture of an Auto Trader advert. Did you see that? It was a white Mercedes for sale on Auto Trader. It had an Arbonne sticker on the back.
I'm just going to say it must be Arbonne if it's a white Mercedes.
Yeah, it was for sale on Auto Trader.
That's sad, isn't it?
So they've obviously hit rank to get the car, not been able to maintain the rank and having to sell it because you're lumbered with the payment.
Yeah, but they don't tell you this. This is the thing. It's all about making it look like you've achieved the goal without any real thought to how you achieve the goal sustainably, and it's a permanent part of your life rather than a snapshot and then something you're lumbered with that becomes a problem. I know there was a rep quite high up in Forever Living, which is one I really detest it, because I really do loathe the health and wellnessy ones because of the sort of false health claims they frequently make. But it took over my hometown quite significantly and I saw a lot of people get hurt with it.
Wow.
So that's kind of coming out of its phase now, and I think it's going to die within the next few years. But anyway,
nobody wants to drink aloe vera gel. Stop it.
It looks disgusting. Disgusting.
Looks
you
like
see videos of people taking it like a shot, and they always even though they tried really hard with the poker faces, they just couldn't stop themselves from wrinkling up their noses when they drank it.
Literally like you're going for your methadone at the pharmacy. It's weird.
Seriously. But one of their very high up reps, there was a scandal a couple of years ago. she'd like posted a lot of pictures and said, my forever living biz has enabled me to buy this castle. Like, it was a beautiful old, I think it was a listed building, this place.
That's the
and it was
woman
stunning.
whose voice I just played.
Is that her?
Yeah.
So yeah, well, the rest of this story then. So
Yeah.
this lady that was made a lot of posts, made a lot of content all about this castle, and then it transpired that it was rented.
Awkward. Nothing wrong with renting.
Nothing wrong with renting.
But don't try and portray that it's not.
I rent, but I don't pretend the house is mine.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I don't, go onto Instagram and say, thank you, company I work for enabling me to buy this lovely house. All you need to do is be transparent, Even the rent, I'm sure, on such a castle was pricey, but it's the element of what you have never been enough. Like, what you are and what you have is never enough in this. You always have to be aspiring higher.
Yeah.
And making your lifestyle look a little bit more desirable than what you actually can afford or sustain.
Yeah.
There is no space whatsoever for just contentment and calm and enjoying where you are. It's always the next thing. It's always, how do I get more? How do I recruit more? How do I buy the next status symbol? It must be so tiring.
So tiring. Well, you've got to keep up with it, haven't you? To keep recruiting, you've got to keep up with the what's the new thing and what's the new thing I'm going to be able to say, oh, my business has made me achieve this. This was one of my goals, to own this, and now I have. And well, what's your new goal then? Because you're going to set another one.
Yeah.
Hit all your life goals at 24. You're kidding me.
Well, this is it. Where do you go from there? And this is the very saddest part. Is how deeply internalized people are, like how deeply they've internalized the idea that it really is all on them, and that if they do not meet criteria that are set up, and it's certain that only a tiny percentage of people can meet them, they will believe that they're a failure for not meeting that. This is what upsets me the most about it, that ultimately, yes, think more positively, try a bit harder, and do your best to motivate yourself by all means. But you cannot control everything in this world. You simply can't. And there are some things, pyramid schemes being one of them, that are ultimately the odds on in your favour, and they never will be. In all honesty,
if people haven't realised that from the last year of dealing with this pandemic, then I don't think people will ever realise if this is, nobody expected this to come. People who had massive, thriving, successful businesses have closed, It's never going to be, nothing's 100% safe, and an MLM is definitely not safe.
No, I think the trouble is, and this is partly, I guess, why like the anti-MLM movement has exploded in the last year the way that it has. The pandemic came along and it wiped out a lot of people who were in that position. Like, it just took the legs from under them, and a lot of people's successful businesses and jobs have been taken away from them.
Yep.
And unless you've heard the right information and had the right access to education about what these MLM companies are, it must be quite easy to look at them and think, well, a lot of them are successful businesses. I've heard a lot about them. They seem to be making a lot of money. They've been going for years and years.
Yeah.
And without them hearing the right information, it must be easy to think, well, they've done something right by surviving, rather than they've survived this long because there hasn't been a mechanism for everybody to know how dodgy they are.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think another thing is, that's how I went about approaching who was going to be my upline. I'd followed her for ages, and she'd had her own business and was really successful, and walked away from that to join an MLM. So I was like, well, if she's not dumb, like, if she's had her own business and walked away from that when really her business went bust. That's why. The deeper you look, there's always a reason. She's put, I've walked away from my business. Well, you've kind of had no choice, to be honest.
Yeah, well, this is the trouble as well, Jess. There's so much Like there's outright lies and obfuscation. Like I was reading an article earlier just about Forever Living again, for example, but somebody had taken like snapshots of the very, very top reps in the chain in the UK, you know, just a handful of them, and had broken down the numbers on their company's accounts. Wow. Like the ones that have got successful enough, that have got like registered status, the ones who are like triple diamond empress level 5 zillion. And like it was really, really shocking and eye-opening, actually. Like so many of their businesses were actually heavily in debt and running on a deficit.
Wow.
There are people like, I probably will say this wrong because I'm actually not that clued up in like business jargon, but it sounded as though some of them had taken out what's called a director's loan.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that,
yeah.
But I couldn't tell you what it is.
And it sounds like it's effectively something that's used to secure the business, but you do have to pay it back. And it sounds as though their businesses are pretty much in the hole for the director's loan and more. So not only are they down in their own money, but they're also in debt to the government from the loans that they took out to buy their businesses in the first place, sort of a thing. I'm sure somebody who's much more knowledgeable than me could explain that better. But the long story short, even those who are presenting themselves as the most successful, like the top tier, a lot of them seem to be hemorrhaging money and not having anything like the success that they're depicting themselves as having. Because this is the thing, all of those people desperately like believe in their heart of hearts, from being taught all this time that it's true, that if they pretend that they have all this wealth and all this abundance, that's a word they love, abundance, if they act as though they're the happiest and richest and most comfortable they've ever been, they believe it will come to them. And it's
that's a big element. No, that's a big element of law of attraction. From watching, or I don't know if I read that bit or watched it in the documentary version about wanting to lose weight. You walk around feeling like you already have, and you know, like, like pretending that you've already lost all this weight and it will happen. Like you were saying just then, what, pretending you live like that, it'll bring it.
Yeah, it's just really sad. Like it does break my heart. Like, as much as I feel frustration, especially with the reps who are really, really high up, because there is a point where you sort of transition to an extent from victim of a pyramid scheme to full-on perpetrator of a pyramid scheme. And you get up to a point and you do know in your heart of hearts how it works. If you look into it at all, you do realise that you're being propped up by people who aren't making anything or aren't making enough to sustain themselves. Like, and that's the case for the vast majority of people. I know we had a very lovely IntelliTravel rep the other day offer a breakdown of how much she'd made during her time in the company, and she was in the top 3%, I believe, and that worked out to a grand total of 15 pence an hour. That's such, like, she sat and calculated everything. Yeah, so I mean, that's the kind of thing you're dealing with here. That's the level of like people up that high who are trying desperately to try and bring it across. Look at this wonderful opportunity, look at what it's brought me, you want to be like me. And then the reality is they're doing all this, working their butts off, and they're getting paid 15 pence an hour.
Yeah, you have to remember that all of that law of attraction stuff for your better self and motivating women, none of it's for the greater good of women in your downline and wanting people in your team to succeed. It's a recruitment tactic so that they can recruit people to strengthen your team.
Exactly. It's a shocking proportion of MLM owners and top leaders are white men, like white old men. And that is who almost all of the funds that come from, all the people from the very bottom tier upwards, all these people that are absolutely slaying it, like killing themselves, working 60-hour weeks, trying to run their business for 15 pence an hour or less. And almost all of the funds from the millions of people doing that are trickling up to a handful of, old white guys in Utah. that's not very inspirational to me. I don't know about
It's
you.
always Utah, isn't it? I'd love to be
Yeah.
able to go over there and film the journey.
Someone
And you can come too, I've decided. I'm manifesting this trip.
I would love that.
I'm manifesting our trip.
I have family in America. So
I wonder if they know where all the MLM hotspots are.
Well, I think I told you, but my sister, her husband was in the American military, so I first learned a lot about MLMs because that community is besieged by them.
Yeah.
I think it might have been her that told me, but like a lot of the like military wives and stuff would come from quite religious, conservative backgrounds, and there was like a common joke that I've seen circulated elsewhere as well, that MLM stood for Mormons losing money. Because it's so, honestly, like Mormon culture and everything is really deeply embedded within it, and there's structural elements of actually it's part of the law of attraction thing, kind of like the manifestation and all that. It links into Mormonism as well. I think some of it was cribbed from their religious doctrine, which is part of why it is the preaching in MLMs has such a religious element, because a lot of the techniques and the way that they do it is cribbed straight out of the Mormon playbook.
Wow, I did not know that. I mean, I knew there was a massive Mormon involvement in MLMs, but I couldn't tell you why, where, or how. But that's quite interesting.
There's a lot of interesting stuff about it. The Mormon faith especially really focuses on converting people, and it's part of their mission. I can't think what the word is. There is a right word for it, but at a certain age they sort of go off on a mission to try to convert people to their way. And
isn't it when they're 18 or something?
Yeah, it's when they're a young adult, they're sent off somewhere to do their mission, and it's very, very similar to the way that MLM reps are taught to present their opportunity to people. Like the parallels are quite incredible. If you have a look out there, there's some super interesting articles about it.
Oh my god, that's going to be another hole I go down.
Honestly, I think it could be a whole episode, like the religious parallels, because the wonderful Robert Fitzpatrick, who wrote the book Ponzinomics, his first book, I think it was published in the late 90s, but it's called False Prophets, and that deals with the parallels between MLM and religion.
Oh wow.
So I've only read excerpts of that so far, but so he looked into that in depth, and that was part of the early study, that it just has so much of it, and that's part of why these teachings are approached the way that they are. And it's relevant to the subject of law of attraction, because this is one of the doctrines that's been attached to the religion of MLM, and it shouldn't be questioned any more than people in a church would expect the pastor who's delivering a sermon to be questioned. It's the same mentality they're expecting of you. You're a congregation, not an employee.
Yeah, that is true. And you really have to idolize your uplines as well, like the celebrities. Like, oh my god, you need to get on this Zoom call tonight because our uplines coming on, and she's like a 5-star director, and she's going to teach us how she got there, and like, you need to be on the call. Like the celebrities, it's weird.
Totally, they absolutely deify them and turn them into gods and goddesses, who are to be worshipped and not really treated as human but divine. It's like they treat them like the people who have the magic sparkle who made it.
Yeah.
And Rachel this is Hollis. The thing, isn't it? Yeah, Rachel Hollis. We circle back to her, but she's a perfect example of all this. Like, she's one of those. Well, R.I.P. Rachel Hollis's career.
Did you see what happened last week with her?
Yes, I did. Yeah, did you see the videos?
Her videos about her cleaners. Yeah.
Yes.
So I thought it was very funny that she's done all the MLM circuit, like we were talking about, but she's, then saying in this video, I don't want anybody to be like me. I don't want anybody to be on my level, and listed herself as in the same category as Oprah or Michelle Obama or whoever she shut up.
It was all, yeah, it was the fact that she keeps listing people. Like, she listed Harriet Beecher Stowe, who was an abolitionist. Like, Rachel Hollis, you are not comparable to someone who worked on abolishing slavery. Like, you sharing your Thanksgiving recipes is not on the same levels to this. It's just not.
Oh gosh.
But it got to me because that part of the stuff that happened sort of last week with her links all the way back into her not appreciating how her view of things is limited. For her, it's easy to say nothing should stop you. If you want it, go get it, because she lives that life of privilege where she can afford someone to scrub her toilets, as she so charmingly put it.
Yeah.
There's no barrier to that for her, and there never has been. She doesn't have to deal with systemic oppression. She doesn't have to deal with the limitations of poverty. Doesn't have to deal with ableism or sexism. Like, in some parts of the world, don't get me wrong, America's far from a gender utopia. But, you know, in other parts of the world, there are deep inequalities in all different kinds of ways that just do not touch her little charmed life. And she can't conceptualize it.
Yeah, that's probably something they have to think about as well when they're recruiting from all over the world. Depending where you live is a massive thing, isn't it? How you're brought up, where you're from, your access to others. And that's where it becomes difficult. You can't, if you're not having consistent communication with these people, that's why they want you to have Zoom meetings every night of the week and training calls and all of that. And another thing that really gets me is the accountability groups. And I think
what does that entail? Like, I've heard of this, but I'd really appreciate it if you could.
We'll probably go like, I'm going to be filming with Laura again on Friday. We're going to do a cult episode. I think that would really.
She told me.
Yeah, so I think that really swings nicely after this law of attraction episode and how the cults use the law of attraction to keep you in. But basically they'll have, you know, you'll be put in WhatsApp groups. And you're accountable to others in this WhatsApp group for everything you do. How many people you approach with the business every day, you have to list off how many you approach. How many are successful, how many are continuing into the next day. And then some of them, you know, they start to take over other areas of your life as well, like weight loss or healthy lifestyle accountability group. You know, like, I got up at 5 this morning and went running. You're having to list off all your successes of the day, basically. There's no room in that chat for, you know, I've not been feeling great today. I've woke up and I'm a bit anxious, so I haven't managed to get out of the house today. There's no room for that. You're either positive or you're not.
Right. So
and
this is
loads of gathering around like, oh, you can do it. Come on, you can do it. No, I don't feel like doing it. Don't tell me to do it. But, you know, that's the accountability groups, that you're accountable to somebody for your actions and your MLM journey.
So
basically.
It's harassment disguised as support, basically.
Yeah. So they'll send a message in the evening if you haven't, you know, why, like, oh, what have you done today, Jess? Why, like, and really you could just bullshit, couldn't you? Like, oh, I've spoke to 15 people today. But like,
lie your head off, I suppose.
Yeah. But it's only, you know, it's only you that suffers. That's what they tell you if you lie. It's only you that suffers. No one else suffers.
That reminds me of Scientology. That's so creepy.
It's very creepy.
You know, that really reminds me of the audit thing they do in Scientology, where they just keep pressing you and asking you questions until you give them the answer they want to hear.
Oh yeah, it's creepy. Yes. And these are all elements of cults. So yes, you know, you're having to answer to people for no good reason. You know, I answer to my manager because he ensures I keep my job.
Yeah.
I get paid every month for the work I do. So I tell him,
absolutely,
yes, I've done this. Yes, I will do that. And no, I haven't done that yet, but I will.
That's the thing.
These people, you're not the only thing you're getting from them is the sisterhood and the family and, you know, the support network, like all of that stuff. That's the only thing you're getting out of it.
It's not a two-way street, is it, the way it should be?
No.
Like with a manager in a normal job, I do my job properly, maybe go a bit extra mile if I'm that sort of a person, and in return the manager ensures that I'm safe and deals with any issues I might have. And so, you know, it goes both ways. MLM, it really seems like once you've signed that dotted line, it's complaints unless you're doing what's wanted, and otherwise they don't really seem to care that you're alive.
And actually, you're not allowed to complain, really, because your chats get deleted from the groups. Like, oh,
yeah,
is anyone else having trouble doing this? No, you're not allowed to talk about that in the group. Oh, it's rubbish that they're still sold out on the website. I can't believe they charge £6 delivery to send the products to us. No, you're not allowed to moan about the company. You're not allowed to moan about this. You're not allowed to moan. Like, it's positivity all day, every day. And that's what I couldn't get my head around. I was like, this is weird.
No, there's a level of positivity that you drown under.
Yeah.
There's a level, nothing in this world is so perfect it can't be improved upon.
No. And you're allowed a bit of a moan, aren't you? People you work with, you'll come home, you go, oh, so-and-so really did my head in today. I'd done this, and he said, oh, I've done it wrong, so I had to do it all again. And then when he looked, I'd actually done it right the first time. You're allowed a bit of a whinge and a moan.
Of course. The people you love the most in the world do your head in sometimes.
Yeah, who are you
just
hurting?
Have to have a bit of a moan. Sometimes I'll ring my friends and be like, my boyfriend's really annoyed me. He's done something stupid, like, I don't know, loaded the dishwasher wrong. What a tit he is. And just have a bit of a rant.
You're allowed you're allowed to have a nag.
Like, you can appreciate something wholeheartedly and still have feelings that aren't always 100%, cult like positivity. I will die on that hill.
I will definitely stay there.
Come to my hill. It's fun over here. We complain and we drink tequila.
Oh,
I think I'm going to be releasing a blog post in tandem with this as well, where I'll kind of talk about it a bit more.
And it's very good.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I do.
But a lot of my personal thoughts and feelings about MLM and the methods they use and everything are filtered through my experience as a disabled person.
Yeah.
And there's an element of like this really, really inherent ableism that comes in with the law of attraction. So, I am white, so I can't really speak on systemic racism. I'm privileged in many, many ways, but my particular issue is disability. And I can give examples of ways that law of attraction based thinking has, hurt me as a disabled person. There is the idea that you have wished it upon yourself, have burdened yourself with disability or illness through not trying hard enough to be better.
Through thinking negatively, they've brought negativity upon you. And actually, now you mentioned that, that's a good point, because your disability wouldn't, as much as they'd want you to use it as your why to others, I've got a disability and I'm not able to do this, I'm not able to do that, but I am able to work from home and flexible. It fits around when I need to do this, when I need to take medication, when I need to rest, or my hospital appointments, depending on the level of disability somebody would have, obviously. But
of course,
you're not allowed to use it as an excuse.
No.
That will not be tolerated, and that's annoying. Like, I've been at the hospital all day with appointments, so I've not been able to do any approaching people with the opportunity. Well, why weren't you doing it from the waiting room on your phone?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was scared about the needles I was about to have. Like, you're not allowed to have any excuse. So they would they would want to recruit you, like you said, you have been approached in the past, because that'd be an amazing selling point for them.
Absolutely.
Look how this opportunity changed her life. But you cannot ever use that to say why you haven't succeeded, ever.
No. And this is it. I feel, and I think a lot of other disabled people already feel frustrated living in a world that generally doesn't really understand what it's like, doesn't understand what our needs are, and doesn't really get the way that we have to approach the world differently. That is hard enough in normal day-to-day life. Like, things are getting better, like there are more jobs out there that are flexible, there are greater opportunities, and there is more education. But ultimately, we still live in a world that is built for abled people that don't have limitations in a physical sense or anything like that. So we get very tired very quickly, I think, of people who want to perpetuate philosophies that go back to victim blaming, and it's this idea of, well, have you tried this though? Have you tried yoga? Have you tried meditation and, you know, thinking more positively and visualizing yourself not being in pain? And, you know, while these are things that can be in the toolkit and are for many people, treating them as the be all and end all is dismissive, it's rude, and it's unrealistic. And that applies
completely
in many, many other contexts outside of disability. So that's what I would say. So that's my personal prism. But you could think about that in the sense of like systematic racism. You could think about it in, you know, gender equality in countries across the world. You could think about it in the sense of different religions and how they approach things, and what, like, I know there's a group out there on Facebook that's called Muslims Against MLM, because Islam as a religion has some very, very specific rules and ideas around finance, to the point where it's like a whole specialism in and of itself.
wow.
So there are so many different things in the world that aren't from a white suburban man's perspective, but because all these businesses and these ideas come from that place, there is a very large subsection of people with different experiences who aren't thought of at all.
Wow.
Okay, I think I'm off my soapbox now, Jess.
No, I appreciate.
Where's that tequila?
You're right. You're right, though. You're very right in everything you say. It's borderline offensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I
going
think
back
it's
to
that
what
harmful.
Yeah, it's very harmful if you don't know what you're talking about. If you don't, you know, some people, things have happened in their life where disability hasn't always been there, like yourself.
Yeah.
Totally. And people sometimes haven't come to terms with that yet. So you approaching them via their Instagram DMs, yeah, but have you tried this essential oil? If you put 4 drops under your tongue, it's going to take all of that away. And giving people false promises and expecting them to play on those false promises to feed into your downline and your business, it's disgusting.
Yeah, it really is. And this is the trouble. This is why, like, I think why we decided to devote a whole episode here is both of us have experienced the ways this particular theory has been weaponized and turned into something that actually hurts people more than it helps them.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm really hopeful that maybe some people, especially ex-reps who might have been in quite deep and had this drilled into them, like, I really hope listening to this gives them a bit of a different perspective on it. I think it is hard to question, and it is at the core of a lot of like motivational speaking in general. And over the last few years, like a lot of people have been pushing that positivity gospel type stuff. We're only just shifting away from that to realize that life's more complicated than that.
And I think I said it in my first episode with Laura. I think MLM has ruined my experience of any form of working with law of attraction. Like, so I've told you before, like, some elements of it make complete sense to me. You know, there's you know, about you trying to be a bit more positive, and especially, you know, I've suffered with anxiety and depression at different stages in my life. It's good to have that sometimes, you know, like, you've got, because sometimes you've got to pick yourself up whether you want to or not, and you've got to get yourself out of bed whether you want to or not. But the MLM element has ruined that, you know, ruined that. So,
there's no humanity in their version. That is my problem. You know,
it's very robotic.
It's a tool rather than a cure, is what I would say to people who are considering it. Like, think of it like a tool that you pick up and put down when you need to be human and feel other emotions.
You
use it when you need to.
And the most bizarre element of it is you use negative parts of life. So even things that just happen in your life and it's tragic and, you know, come out of nowhere, things happen, you either use it as your why and turn it into, but this business fixed that, or that could be death of somebody, that could be anything. But, you know, I was in a really bad place because my partner passed away, my mum passed away, somebody passed away, but this business turned me around and gave me the confidence again. Or you're not allowed to say it, like you said, you're not allowed to use it because it's too negative.
Definitely. I've seen more of both than I would care to think about, of people either utilising terrible tragedies that they clearly haven't even begun to process themselves yet as a business tool because that's what they've been taught, or hiding things that they clearly could benefit from support with because it doesn't fit the aesthetic of being positive and inspirational. Both are tragic.
Frightening.
Like the best people in life and the people that I admire the most certainly have that humanity and the ability to feel all kinds of different things. Like, you're not a negative person if you don't feel happy and smiling and upbeat 100% of the time. That's not what negative is.
No, you're right.
So yeah, I just hope, I'd be interested to hear what people think when they've sort of listened to us unpicking this a little bit.
I want some people's thoughts on this and how, if you've been in an MLM yourself, how law of attraction played into your role, and how did you use any elements yourself of law of attraction? Were you taught to? Did you have to list 100 goals a day and 5,000 grateful points a day? Those kind of things I'd be excited to hear about too.
Definitely, like give us an idea what was on that mood board of yours. Like, I want to hear it, definitely.
Yeah, same. Well, thank you for joining me again.
Oh no, thank you for having me. I
forgot as well. You were supposed to present your MLM idea to me.
I was. Jess, I'm so sorry. I've been poorly. I've been flaring up. So
I know
my brain. I promise you, next time, if you have me back, I promise you, I'll pitch you a pyramid scheme.
You are going to be back regularly.
I will. Oh, good. You're not sick of the sound of my rambles just yet, then?
No, not at all. So when this comes out, your podcast, no, not your podcast, your blog post is launching at the same time. So tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm going to be releasing an accompanying blog post to go alongside what we've discussed in this episode, and that will be over at my blog, which is www.HUNderground.co.uk.
And Instagram is HUNderground.
The HUNderground blog. Yeah, that's me.
The HUNderground blog. I love that.
Thank you. It's exciting. It's all very new. So feedback is very much welcomed and encouraged. But
I'm in the same boat.
It interesting.
Yeah, I love what you're going to post so far, so I'm sure everyone else will too. It's just snippets of information. That's what people need. Easy things for people to share to people. Your post could be things people are able to send to their friends and family who are in MLMs, and we'll read this. So I think it's a good thing.
I think what all of us are doing in this movement, whether that is through Facebook posts, podcast, blog, YouTube videos, Instagram, like all of it is designed so that there's information out there in whatever format the person will benefit the most from. So between us all, here's to getting the message out there and making people think twice. That's what we're asking for.
No, here's to boss
babes for life. I toast my Dr. Pepper to you, madame.
Yes, thank you. Right. Thank you anyway.
Thank you.
And that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Like we mentioned in the episode, there's plenty of places to go to discuss all of this. We really love your feedback and to hear your experiences as well. So make sure you head over to the UK Anti-MLM Facebook group, and also check out the accompanying blog post by Nikkie. She mentioned it in the episode, but in case you didn't catch it then, it's HUNderground.co.uk. See you next week. Thanks, guys.